Hello, my name is Jen and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a life update and also my September wrap up. If you've been paying attention at all to my channel, you'll know that I posted my very scary bookoplathon TBR at the beginning of September and have not posted anything since. Life is a little bit crazy at the moment. Over the last 4 to 6 to 8, somewhere in the last couple of months, I have been trying to figure out where I'm going to move to. I was maybe going to buy a place and then that didn't work out. And then I was trying to find a place to rent and that was stressful. The good news is I have found a place and I am moving in the middle of October. The bad news is that content's still going to be a little sporadic, at least for the next 4 to 6 weeks. I will have this as my wrap up, my October, fingers crossed I even can complete any of it, TBR. And then hopefully by November I'm kind of back on track and back creating things, because I've actually created a very long list of things I would like to do. So I'm really excited to get to that. I just have to get through the next few weeks of putting things into boxes. There's still actually like a week left in September, but we are gonna wrap up what I did manage to read this month, and if anything else, if I do manage to finish anything else in the next week, I'll put it in a different video. But if you have seen my September /bookoplathon TBR, you know that it was a lot. The board was not kind to me. It was a nightmare. In the best way, like in TBR chaos, the best TBR chaos way. I enjoyed it and I had every intention of attempting to get it all completed, except life happened. So, but the good news is I did pretty okay. Didn't finish everything, but I did pretty well. At least I think so. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So we'll go through I think I finished 7 books, and the ones that we'll talk about those in a second. The first book that I finished for Bookoplathon, which was technically finished on the last day of July, which seems like last day of August, was Their Vicious Darling by Nikki St. Crow. This is a dark fantasy, reverse harem romance that follows Winnie, who is the descendant of Wendy Darling. And every time one of her descendants turns 18, Peter Pan comes and kidnaps them and takes them to Neverland, believing that they hold the answers to where his shadow has disappeared to. And Winnie is taken, and she meets the Lost Boys and takes a particular liking to Peter and 3 others, and it is smutty goodness. It is dark. There's this like really kind of cool like sort of mafia thing, like territorial thing happening in there between obviously Peter and like Hook and all that other stuff. So like there's a really cool thing going on here. Their Vicious Darling was 100% my favorite one in the series so far. There were some moments like, why is the smut here? We are in the middle of something critical. Why are we stopping for this? It's good smut, but why? But also there's a really great like action scene towards the end that was super intense, super great, and then it ended on a cliffhanger. So I did give this 4 stars. I gave the whole series 4 stars so far, but this is by far the highest rated in the series. The next book I read was the August Literature Book Club pick, hosted by Steph from Steph Loves, and that was The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is a contemporary workplace boss romance that follows, the series itself follows 3 brothers who are set to inherit parts of the business of this theme park that is essentially Disneyland. And in order to get their inheritance, they have a stipulation that they must complete. Rowan's is to make the park better But what Rowan sees is that profits are up and things are great, so therefore there can't be anything wrong. So he kind of goes to the office and tries to figure out how to make it, just trying to find really out of the box ideas. And there he meets Zara. And when they meet, they don't get along. And they continue to kind of have this confrontational relationship. But Zara works, and her whole family works at the park, and she's very underappreciated, and she had some other stuff happen in the past that has prohibited her from moving up with the company. So the two of them sort of start working together, and Rowan starts to understand like what exactly is actually wrong with the park. I gave this 3 stars. I wasn't the biggest fan of the way this was executed. The premise, great. Execution, I found Rowan, I really loved Zara. I loved her sister. My problem was mostly with Rowan, and it's Grumpy Sunshine. So he's a little bit of a jerk, but like he's just in a way that like you can't get past, and like he doesn't understand that he's wrong, and he's a little alpha. He's alpha in a way that I am not cool with. So I didn't like this a whole lot. It was fine. I understand why people would, and I think this is probably a lot of this is personal preference rather than anything to do with the actual book. But I'm probably not going to be continuing this series. I wasn't a big fan. If someone comes to me and says I have to because of X, Y, and Z, and I feel like it's enough, I might try it one day. But as of right now, I'm just going to leave this series where it's at and find something else to read. The fine print was the August selection for the Literature Book Club. The Deal by Elle Kennedy was the September book club pick, and this was the 3rd time I've read this book. I adore this book a lot. The Deal follows Hannah, who... I can never figure out how to explain what this book is about, yet it's not that difficult. This follows Hannah and Garrett. Hannah and Garrett have a class together. Hannah has this crush on this guy who essentially doesn't know who she is, and Garrett is the star of the hockey team, and he's struggling in this class that they share where Hannah is not. So Garrett asks Hannah to help him in his schoolwork in return he will like pretend to be interested in dating Hannah, so that this other guy who's also a jock kind of sees her with him, and kind of like therefore understands that she's cool and someone he should know. And then it turns into this really great thing where they're fake dating, and then they're kind of fooling around. And Garrett is precious, and I love this whole series is full of what I call reformed horn dogs. They're still like a little bit like that, but they like understand, because Garrett, in the beginning of this, Garrett doesn't want a girlfriend. He doesn't do girlfriends. He doesn't have time for them. But Hannah makes him want to have these things. And Hannah has some trauma in her past. And the way he approaches the situation and handles her is the wrong word because it makes it sound like it's a negative, but the way he approaches her in some of the ways that they are connecting in the middle of this is really just great. I love Garrett. I love Garrett. The Deal is the book in the series I've read the most. I think it's the only book I've reread. I absolutely love this. I am a Garrett Graham fan forever. So I gave this 5 stars every single time I read it. I have to talk about Love on the Brain. I have currently soft DNF'd this at the 50-page mark. There's a lot of I know there's a lot of negative stuff about this book. Mostly it's comparison to the similarities to the first, for The Love Hypothesis, which was one of my favorite books of last year. But my problems are not those. They are unique, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen a ton. I've only seen this critique of it. I have not seen this one. And this may just be me as a reader. But my problem with this is that we're coming in here and I am literally watching as every little bit is dropped. Every bit of foreshadowing, every bit of and then just going, oh, this is the next piece of the plot. oh, and then this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, which in a romance is usually kind of okay to a certain degree, but it was like distractingly so. So I don't even remember the main character's name. She is getting over and she was engaged. She's no longer engaged. She's going to work for NASA with this guy that she hated while they were in college, but she also has this secret online person that she talks to she doesn't actually know. And like, I feel like if I tell you any more of what was in the first 50 pages, you will also realize where the story was going exactly beat by beat. And I don't know if this is because I've just been reading a lot of contemporary romance or what, but like, it was distracting about how much I was like, oh, now this will happen, and oh, now this is going to happen, and like I'm watching the rest of the plot unfold before at the 50-page mark. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, because I don't know now if I can go into this knowing what I know. So it has softly been DNF'd. I put it in a box. We will revisit this some other time, probably not this year, and maybe finally read it then. But for now, it has been soft DNF'd, put on pause, held until further notice. And it worries me a lot because I loved The Love Hypothesis, read one of her novellas and did not like it at all. So now I'm just afraid that where I thought I was going to get a brand new favorite author, it's not going to work out in the end. The next book has not been packed up yet, and that is Wildlands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is the second book in the Savage Lands series that follows Brexley, who in the first book, it's kind of a little bit of a Robin Hood and kind of goes and robs the rich to give to the people in the Savage Lands, and is caught and put in this prison that she's not expected to get out of. This is book 2, follows basically at the cliffhanger from book 1. This one, these are just so addictive. So like, the writing in here is not great. This one was very repetitive. The same sort of situation happens 3 different times in this book, with the same ending. So this was not my favorite, but the tension and the chemistry and the angst between Brexley and Warwick gives me life right now. I am very much addicted to this series, and spoiler, there's another book in the series on this list that was not on my TBR. A lot of the intrigue and the characters and sometimes the plot, necessarily doesn't this one, really drive this, and the writing is not great, but the rest of it's just really, really good. Very addictive is the best way to put this. I think I mentioned this, but I gave this 4 stars. The next book I started was She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is a historical fantasy inspired by it's a reimagining of the Ming Dynasty's founding emperor. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just reading like historical fiction, and I don't like historical fiction. I don't know. I just don't know if I was just maybe not in the right mood or what, but there's nothing wrong with this. I was in the first like 50 pages, I'm only on page 122. The first like 50 pages were really interesting. And then it started to shift into different perspectives, and I was like, wait, no. You're giving me people I don't care. And like, then you have to actually pay, like, not that you don't pay attention before, but you have to like struggle to keep up. And I was listening to it on audio and just kind of not paying as much attention as I would have liked. So this is another one that I have paused. This is one that I will likely get back to again. I might actually try to finish it still this month with the week we have left, because I do have the audiobook. But I at least started it. I got a little ways through, and I will hopefully finish this at some point. Deadlines. This is book 3 in the Savage Land series. Now that I'm thinking about it, I was like, what even happened in this book? Lots of great, some good things. I enjoyed this again. It's the same thing of the other one. It's not the most well written. The angst is a little over dramatic, but I thrive on that, so I'm cool. The relationship dynamic between Brexley and Warwick continues to be really interesting because it is this weird, I think it's a little bit spoilers, but it is very enemies to lovers. It is enemies to lovers. They do not like each other for so long, and neither of them can trust the other, so, or will trust the other. There's always lots of explosions, and is this the one? I think it has similar where it's like kind of repeating itself a bunch, but you're still intrigued as to what's going on because they haven't actually resolved the main conflict, so you're intrigued into what's going on. I bought book 4. Books 5 and 6 are expensive, even in trade paper and on Amazon, so I don't know, but I also am not going to read book 4 until I have moved, because I am not allowed to bring any more books into my house as of this moment, and if I finish that book, I'm going to want the next one, I'm sure of it. So I will hopefully be completing this, but again, writing's not great, everything else is addictive. Then I read Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the first book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. That is, I think, the last book comes out like Tuesday, maybe. This follows, I forgot her, Emilia, whose sister is Vittoria is murdered, and she is determined to figure out who killed her and why. But she ends up summoning one of the princes of hell, Wrath, and the two enter a partnership to solve these murders, because obviously Amelia is her name. Amelia wants to solve her sister's murder and get vengeance there, but Wrath has his own agenda. So the two of them kind of go and try to track whoever it is down. I like this a lot. I really love this. This book is, I really enjoyed this one. I believe I liked book 2 more. That one's gonna be reread soon as well. It is YA. This one reads, I know the other books in the series are technically pseudo new adult, but this one reads very YA, and the first, like, I don't know, third of it is not my favorite, but when Wrath shows up and when Wrath is present. And lastly, the book I just finished this morning, and that is Kingdom of the Wicked was a reread. So is A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Milla Vane. This is a fantasy romance about Madoc and, what is her name? I just literally not even, Yevon? I was listening to the audiobook too, but apparently I can't remember how to pronounce her name. Anyway, it is about them. Madoc's parents have been murdered, and he is out for vengeance, and the way he's going to do that is by initially killing Yvonne, as she is the daughter of the man who killed his parents, but then they end up in this pseudo-marriage of convenience thing that's going to help take down her father. I really enjoyed this. Again, I think I've mentioned this many times. The use of the C word in here is literally my only complaint. There was a second one, but I can't remember what it is. So right now it's just that the overuse of the C word, like in like a single paragraph. I'm like, they're barbarians, so I kind of sort of get it, but it's not necessary. But I really like this a lot. I like the way that Madoc and Yvonne's relationship progresses from very much enemies to lovers, very much Madoc doesn't trust her and turns into something very wonderful. All right, this is most of what I read in September. So we've got like 120 pages of this, only 120 pages of this that I've read, plus 50-ish pages of Love on the Brain, Their Vicious Darling, and The Fine Print that are not on here. But considering that my TBR was 10 books long, and life has been what it has been, getting done what I've read has been great. I think hopefully by the time November rolls around, I'll be settled and I can spend that month, knocking some things off. There are some other goals that I maybe won't hit this year because of this tumultuous time, but I'm good. I'm very happy with where I'm at for the year. My physical TBR, as I put it in a box, will hopefully maybe dwindle a little bit as I can kind of just get rid of some things. But if I have not mentioned, TBR Takedown is on pause for the month. Obviously, there were 2 books that were on TBR Takedown for September. I started one. I picked up the other one. And my goals are still going to be to read what's on my TBR. I'm just not going to I'm not going to try to hit a goal for the end of this year any longer. I will set one for 2023 and I will hopefully destroy it. But I'm also like waiting for the amount of books that I want to buy. So like, we'll see how this goes. Anyway, comment down below and let me know how your September reading is going. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.